Welcome to Florida Education News. My name is Dr. Tony Arza. Today I'm sitting down with State Attorney General James Uthmeier in the great state of Florida. Thanks for being with us, James.
Yeah, thanks
Appreciate
for having me.
No, so look, you were sworn in February as State Attorney General of the great state of Florida. And what are some of the things that you guys are trying to do around education? Because a lot of people, when they think about you, they think about all the stuff you're doing around to stop illegal immigration and protect the citizens of Florida in that regard. But you've also made education a priority, and maybe people don't know that. So could you kind of share a little bit?
Sure. Well, my number one priority is to protect and enable our children. I want to leave this state better for the next generation than we found it. And I think in today's world, there are so many interests and forces that want to indoctrinate and manipulate our kids. At the end of the day, I want our kids to have a good education that teaches them the basic tools, the math, the science, the reading, the basic tools needed to be successful in life and ultimately grow up and provide for their own families. So we've, working for the governor before, we enacted policy after policy after policy to promote solid curricula, to enable parents' rights, to ensure education freedom. And now in the Office of the Attorney General, it's been a lot of fun and fulfilling to go out and enforce those laws, to make sure that school districts and school systems and public school officials are properly protecting our kids, respecting parents' rights, and to effectuate school choice, which we were the first state in the country, as you know, to promulgate universal school choice, but also to do it in a methodical, fully funded way where if parents want to take advantage of this wonderful option, it is available at their fingertips. And we need to ensure we're educating parents on what is available, but also combat governments and school systems that might still want to interfere with this great opportunity.
Yeah, and that brings up the next thing that you guys have done. You signed a memorandum, which is really historic, between the State Attorney General's office and the Department of Education. Could you kind of share a little bit, those who don't understand, what's motivating that? Why is it you've taken on the fight in education? Why is it a priority for you?
Well, we passed into law the Parents' Bill of Rights several years ago in Florida. We were the first state to do so. And we've had several new laws since then that further expand parents' rights in education. We want to make sure that harmful content is not being shoved down our kids' throats. We want to make sure that parents have access to textbooks, to curriculum, that there's not some sort of treatment or counseling being given to kids in schools behind parents' backs. So we created this Office of Parents' Rights here in the AG's office, first in the nation, to help parents that have grievances to make sure we're addressing those legal concerns. Because while Florida law will allow a parent to bring their own lawsuit, if there's a problem, going into court, getting into legal procedure is an intimidating thing that's not easy to do. So we want to serve as that law firm for parents. So we created this office. We didn't use any new taxpayer dollars. We repurposed resources that were already here. And parents can go to the portal on our website to report if there's porn in a library for a K-12 school, to report if they find out that kids are being asked to fill out surveys that inquire as to what parents are talking to their kids about, sexuality and mature content. These things are illegal. They're not going to be tolerated in Florida. So we signed the Memorandum of Understanding with our Department of Education, where we're going to work together, where if they get wind of some of these grave concerns, again, we're here to provide the legal hammer to ensure that we are fighting for parents' rights. And we've done so. We've had lots of complaints come in. I've been surprised how many are meritorious. I mean, there are still dangerous things being presented to our kids in schools. We've put counties, school boards, superintendents on notice. Follow the law. We're going to just get back to basic education. We're going to protect our kids, and we're going to make sure that parents are exercising their God-given right to educate kids and upbring their kids the way they deem fit, not some government bureaucracy.
Yeah, and you bring up this last point. The parental rights movement has been pegged as anti-something, but instead I'm hearing from you there's a positive vision that you're trying to build a public system based on things that we should all share in common, right? In order to have...
We want parents involved in education. When parents are interested in what their kids are learning, that is a wonderful thing. So we don't want government to box parents out. We want parents involved every step of the way, and our office is going to make sure that happens.
Yeah, no, and it's a positive vision of reality. This isn't being against something. This is about trying to say something, what's true about the world, right? You're trying to say that a parent is the person that should be educating their kids. And you mentioned that you've held some school board members accountable. You sent some letters to school districts. Could you kind of share what is your expectation? And you mentioned a little bit before, but what's your expectation of appointed and elected officials, especially in the education space in the state of Florida?
Yeah, put kids first and follow the law.
Yeah.
Follow the law is not difficult. Officials around the state still want to rear their head every once in a while and say they disagree with us on something, and it's okay to disagree on policy, but when there is a legal obligation, you better follow it or we're going to hold you accountable. My office certainly will. I know our governor has strong feelings on this. So we want kids, again, get back to the basics. Let's get the harmful content. Let's get the indoctrination out of schools. So we've sent some letters to some school officials, and thankfully, most people have been reasonable. They've come around. If you're defending pornography in a second grade classroom, I'm probably going to have trouble seeing eye to eye with you. If something gets in by accident, all right, we'll find it, we'll address it. But if this is the hill you want to die on, I want to get you the heck out of our school system.
There's been a great few past years for school choice.
Oh, yeah.
We had the referendum where public schools now are required to share referendum dollars with charter schools. But still, that doesn't change the fact that there are school districts today that are still trying to find creative ways to withhold funding. What is your office willing to do to protect the parents' right to send their child to a school of their choice?
We're willing to do anything and everything. We will pursue every legal means necessary to ensure that parents can take advantage of this great opportunity. I mean, universal school choice is something we've talked about in Florida and a lot of free states for many, many years. And to be able to actually bring it to fruition in Florida, to be the first state, was just an incredible experience. It's been wonderful to see so many families take advantage of it. Families are, they're speaking with their feet. They're flocking to private schools. They're flocking to charter schools. They want to take advantage of vouchers. And I believe this is the future. I mean, this is the way we are going to protect our kids and ensure that they get the education that best meets their needs, under the responsible decision-making of their parents. And again, where governments want to stand in the way, we'll use every legal means necessary to fight back. And it's been frustrating for me, to hear a lot of, school district leadership, some of the teachers union bosses, complain repeatedly, the public school system is losing students and it's going to die and, we've got to do something. And they seem to be focusing more so on the institution, preserving the institution, and less so on the student. In everything we do in education, from teacher pay to curriculum, to new funding for infrastructure, it all has to come back to the student. So my advice to them is, I truly hope we can save the public school system. I mean, I love what's happening on the charter school private side. There is a role for the public school system, but my advice to them is focus on education and listen to parents. If you do that, you're going to be just fine. If you don't do it, you're going to continue to bleed students and funding, and at the end of the day, it's going to be an uphill battle for you.
No, you've also filed some lawsuits with some school districts, McGraw-Hill and Savvy Learning, because they were overcharging Osceola County. Could you kind of share a little bit about that case and why the educational leaders in Florida should expect you to find more instances of this kind of thing in the state?
Sure. Well, Florida law requires textbook publishers to offer us the lowest price possible for the books. The government deserves this. It's great for taxpayers. Again, we're fine with them making a profit. They're a business, but we need the lowest price that they're offering, anywhere else. And we found out through a whistleblower that they've been striking some deals, with other parts of the country, getting some rebates and things, and ultimately they were not honoring their bargain with the state, not honoring state law. So we have filed a lawsuit. I feel pretty good about it. I believe we'll recoup millions of dollars for the state that ultimately will go back to the students. And we've put companies on notice. If you're going to take advantage of the government, if you're going to engage in profits over good education-focused policy, we're certainly going to be watching and come after you. And look, these textbooks, we've had some tension with them. We found a lot of things in there that, again, focus more on indoctrination and less so on actual history, actual science, actual math. If you're pushing DEI and some of these Marxist socialist ideas in a math chapter, something is very, very wrong. So our Department of Education is keeping a watchful eye. They're going to make sure we're only approving content that is educating students on what they need to know, the basic tools for success. And where contractors want to take advantage of our school systems, again, we're not afraid to file lawsuits. We will protect the taxpayers. We'll protect our students.
And my background is philosophy, so there's always I'm always curious about the relationship between what's happening in the public sphere and the more philosophical, deeper questions that are going on. And I know you're a professor, so you understand those things too. And so one of the questions that I have is, with this whole parental rights thing and this opposition from the left that's been going on for a long time, they've been advocating against this idea that there's a natural law, that there's actually a structure to reality that we all have to adhere to, that we don't determine. But then now they're trying to oppose the law. And my question is how do you oppose the law if there's nothing, if there's nothing beyond it, right? So now all of a sudden they end up trying to argue, well, there's some basic truths, but it's strange because they've been negating that for years. So can you give kind of your perspective on why natural law, you're trying to bring some of that back in? I mean, emphasizing parental rights, that's a truth that you're protecting, you're not making it. So can you kind of share a little bit?
Yeah, well, throughout the history of mankind and the views of our founders, our law, man-made law, positive law, is always supposed to pursue natural law. Is supposed to promote truth and the basic tenets of right and wrong. From St. Augustine to MLK, an unjust law is no law at all. So as state leaders, we're supposed to be following the law, and the law is supposed to pursue good. So we are out there, certainly our state leadership is pushing for good law, law that promotes that which is right and just. And as lower level officials want to deviate from that, we've got the tools in Florida, thankfully, to hold them accountable and make sure that we are following rule of law.
Yeah, well, God willing, the fact that they're even pushing back, hopefully that they can realize that maybe they believe there's such a thing as reality, right? And that we can begin to talk about that. But thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you for making time
it's
to
great
be
to
with
be
us.
Here.
All right.